6. Let's take, yeah, one for everyone. Testing 1 2, testing 1 2. Good. We're starting. Let's go in. Let's go in. Yep. We're starting. Let's go in. Yeah. That's the way of saying. That's the way of saying. Let's go in. Right. Let's go in. You're in the second last one. Patrick, paging Patrick Liu, Patrick Liu. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to the, I think I'll sit down, I've got a chair here, why not? Welcome to the final Power Hour for 2020. Thank God this year's almost over. And we've got a little bit of a different one for you this month, being the last month of the year. Well, first of all, it's the third Wednesday, not the fourth Wednesday. And we're going to do a panel, as you can see. So I'll leave the introductions till after the message we have here from our new Consul General for Hong Kong and Macau, Elizabeth Ward, who has been kind enough to send us a little message from Hong Kong. So what do we have to do, Patrick, to make that happen?
Hello members of AUSTCHAM Macau. I'm Elizabeth Ward, Australia's Consul General to Hong Kong and Macau. I've been on board since October this year. Just a bit of background about myself. I've been with DFAT for over 30 years with a long history working in trade and investment policy. Some of you might know I was the chief negotiator for the Australia-Hong Kong Free Trade Agreement. I also led negotiations in the Trans-Pacific Partnership on behalf of Australia. I've previously been posted to Washington DC, New Delhi and Cairo. 2020 is a year obviously filled with unprecedented challenges. It's been a very interesting time to arrive in Hong Kong. After completing the 14-day quarantine, I've been busy meeting Hong Kong government officials, senior business leaders and Australian communities. My role here is to understand matters important for Hong Kong and Macau and for us to build an understanding of Australian government policies based on our values and our interests. I've also been engaging regularly with Patrick Liu of AUSTCHAM Macau, getting to know the Australian interests in Macau and members of the community there. The Australian Consulate has been providing services to Australians in Macau, as you know. Unfortunately, due to COVID-19, we have suspended our monthly consular visits. The Consulate can still provide passport renewal and some limited notarial services by mail. Please contact us for advice via the email on screen. For other services, there are notary publics in Macau who can assist you. Travelling to Australia, the cap and the quarantine arrangement continue to be a major concern among Australians residing overseas. I particularly understand how frustrating the situation is for those of you in Macau, especially when there's no direct flight between Australia and Macau. For those seeking to return home, I encourage you to visit the Consulate's COVID-19 page, which has some really useful and timely information and advice. Our consular team is always here to help. If you have any urgent need for consular assistance, please reach out to us immediately. Thanks AUSTCHAM for being such a great connector. It's through AUSTCHAM Macau that I get to know more about Macau and the Australian community there. Macau has been doing an excellent job in pandemic control. There's been no new case for a very long time now. I hope that Hong Kong's COVID situation will improve soon so I can visit you quarantine-free and meet you face-to-face soon. Wishing you a Merry Christmas and a joyful, prosperous New Year filled with hope. Bye for now.
Very good. Well, Merry Christmas to Elizabeth too. So it's a shame she can't be here with us, but she did call into our last board meeting and we had a nice little chat with her. I think the Australian government tends to swap out their consul generals every about 2 years or so, is it, Patrick? I think about every 2 years, 2 to 3 years. We seem to get a new, just as soon as they get warmed up, they seem to switch them out and get a new one. I think there's some political reasons for that. Yes, it's nice of her to send a little message to us, and she will obviously come over as soon as she can. Hopefully, or maybe we can have her for our Australia Day celebration, which will be on Saturday, January the 23rd. So as I said, we're having a little bit of a different one this year, being the last one for the year. Let me just run through what we're going to do. So we're going to have 3 short presentations, and I'd like to, well, let's do the introductions now. I'd like to welcome our 3 panellists, Professor, Brian Tomlinson from the MUST Medical School, our own Janet McNabb, and Patrick Liu. So please welcome them. And they have the unenviable tasks this evening of representing an entire industry, the industries of medicine and hospitality and finance in which they work. And we thought a nice thing to do would be just to talk about a bit of a review of 2020 and what's happened in each of those fields. Obviously, it's been an absolutely crazy year, probably the strangest year that most of us or any of us have experienced, and then maybe a bit of crystal ball gazing about what might happen in 2021. And each of them will make a short presentation of maybe up to 5 or 10 minutes, and then we'll have a question time. And then after that, our chairman Patrick is going to just spend maybe 10 minutes or so talking through AUSTCHAM Macau's agenda for 2021. We've sat down and planned out, much like a business, we're a Chamber of Commerce, so we should act like a business. We've done a bit of a plan for 2021, and we'd like to share that with you as well, but we will get to that in due course. So without any further ado, I'd like to welcome Brian Tomlinson, who is going to talk from MUST Medical School, who's going to talk about key learnings from 2020 and thoughts, crystal ball gazing for 2021. Of course, vaccine would be part of that. I'll leave it over to you.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much. I've put together a few slides. I'll stand up if you don't mind, because it's sort of easier and I can point at the screen. So I've got a rather grandiose title, Medicine 2020, and I can't cover it all, of course. But I'll start off with good news. This was the first anniversary of the inauguration of the first medical school here in Macau. So I think this is a great occasion. We have the new medical school at MUST. So that's the good news. Now, the bad news. Here in the gaming industry, you're all familiar with ACEs, aren't you? But in the medical profession, ACE means something else. It means the angiotensin converting enzyme. And well, it does. And in fact, it's a sort of bad enzyme. We've known for many years that it causes damage to the blood vessels, the heart and the kidneys. And we have developed medications like this one, lisinopril. Lisinopril is the most widely prescribed medication in the United States a few years ago. It's very, very, very popular. So this inhibits the angiotensin-converting enzyme, and it helps to reduce the blood pressure and protect the kidneys and the heart. So ACE inhibitor is a good thing. But it has the downside with ACE2. Now, ACE2 you've probably heard of because it's the second type of angiotensin-converting enzyme. And this is the bad guy because the SARS-CoV coronavirus 2 recognizes the ACE2 enzyme and takes it as a receptor to get into cells. So ACE2 is bad in this respect, but in fact, in other respects, it's actually good because it actually helps the circulation. So we never tried to inhibit ACE2. So it acts as a receptor for the COVID-19 virus. And the worry was that people who were taking the drugs, the medications to improve their blood pressure and so on, might be more susceptible because it tends to upregulate the ACE2. So there was a worry right from January this year. I was worried that people taking these medications would be more susceptible. And that hasn't been entirely disproven, although it has been shown that if you are taking those medications, it doesn't matter if you stay on them or stop them if you get the COVID-19. So the next question is, we know a lot of the stuff about COVID-19. Have we got a good treatment? Have we found a good treatment for it? Well, you can see here it's been a bumpy road. We thought we had a good treatment, hydroxychloroquine. It was touted right in the beginning, January, February. It's more or less disappeared. It doesn't work. We can forget it. Convalescent plasma seems another good option. That seemed to work. Not really. It doesn't work. We're left with things like vitamin D, statins, famotidine. Those may help, but not proven at all. But you might think, well, remdesivir, that's good. That must be all right. The FDA have approved it. But a couple of weeks ago, WHO say it's no good. So where are we? Where are we? What have we got left? This was in the New England Journal of Medicine last week. The New England Journal is the most prestigious medical journal in the world. And what do they say? Although some treatments have been authorized by the FDA, no therapy has been shown conclusively to be effective. Where are we now? It's disappointing. 10 months after the start, we don't have a breakthrough treatment. So that was what they said last week. And this comes from the British Medical Journal, saying that remdesivir, not recommended. They do say that corticosteroids are recommended in the more severe cases. So we do have that treatment as an option. But of course, we've got the vaccines now. The vaccines are coming. As you know, Macau has secured 3 different vaccines, 2 of them on this list, the Oxford AstraZeneca and the Pfizer BioNTech. We haven't got Sputnik 5. I think probably a good thing. So what about these vaccines? Are you going to have the choice? Can you have the choice which vaccine to choose? Well, according to the Macau News, you do have a choice. It's not between the Pfizer and Moderna. Those 2 are quite similar. And the Pfizer seems to be winning out because it's been approved already in the UK and in the US now. But those 2 vaccines work in a different way. We think they're totally novel. The messenger RNA. Messenger RNA wrapped up in a lipid nanoparticle gets taken into cells, and the cell starts producing the protein. This is messenger RNA from the virus. but it doesn't cause the infection, but it causes the body to produce the protein, and then the body recognizes this as a foreign protein and produces antibodies. So it's a new thing. It's not totally novel, though, because one of the companies, Moderna, was doing this for the Zika virus. They'd already produced a vaccine against Zika virus, but then Zika virus disappeared. So they didn't pursue that. And this material is relatively easy to synthesize, so it's not such a difficult vaccine to make. So how good is it? How good is this vaccine? You've heard all the news. It's 95% efficacy. 95%. Now, if you look at these data, this is the people who got the placebo, this is the people who got the Pfizer vaccine. Now, if you actually do the numbers, over the first month or so, these are the numbers, the percentage of people taking the vaccine and the placebo who developed the COVID-19. So it was less than 1% of people who got placebo got COVID-19. So maybe placebo is 99% effective anyway. You know, sometimes when you do the statistics a different way and say what's the absolute efficacy, it's not 95%, it's 1%. But you know, I mean, I'm not saying that it won't work, but over the period of the study, it only prevented that sort of number of cases, 1% of people getting COVID. Now, is it a safe vaccine? Well, these are the adverse events. 83% people got an adverse event with it. So it's not totally without harmful effects. The adverse events are mainly local, but you can't probably read this, but quite a few of them are moderate events, you know, pain in the injection site, redness, swelling, and quite a few people got sort of general adverse events. So it's not without problems, although it's just a bit of viral RNA. Now, what about the Oxford Astrozenica vaccine? That produces a similar sort of effect. If you give 2 standard doses, it's about 60% efficacy. If you give a low dose and a standard dose, it's actually 90% efficacy. So that's pretty good. Now, you may have heard in the news about this low dose. How did they come to decide on a low dose? It seems to be given different opinions from different people. It may be that they had a sort of inexperienced operator. You know, somehow they ended up with an inadvertent, they've used this term, inadvertent low dose. So, you know, it was lucky in the end because it worked better. But, you know, how they came to it, I'm not sure. And again, you're hearing from the UK that the virus has mutated and it's become more infectious. I'm not sure that's entirely true. You know, there's a lot of infection going around. It's not because the virus is more infectious, it's because people are not taking precautions, I think. But it obviously does jump species as it mutates, and you see all these minks that were culled in Denmark. You may be able to get a sheep mink coat nowadays. You know, and probably that's how it originated in the first place. It somehow jumped species between bats and some other animal to come into humans. And these are data coming from scientists in different countries. They're not my opinion. It was done by The Economist. And this was done back in May and June. And what it shows is whether the scientists agree with what their government is doing or not. And you can see the top of the list is New Zealand. Australia comes quite high. It's about 4th or 5th down here. Right at the bottom, we have the United States, unfortunately. And Britain is not far behind the United States in this. So, you know, the scientists in those countries don't entirely agree with what the country leaders have done. So that's the end of the bit on COVID. And I just want to introduce something completely different. And this is another medication. It's an RNA. It's a little strand of RNA. It's called an small interfering RNA. It's actually human RNA. And you can give this by injection. It's called inclisiran. You can give it by injection, and when you have the injection, it lowers your bad cholesterol by half for 6 months. Now, this is going to be a breakthrough. This is a real big breakthrough for people with high cholesterol, and it will probably be available next year. So that's the other bit of planning for next year. And that's the end of my talk. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Brian. Most enlightening and very entertaining. When I saw 95% efficacy, I thought, does that mean 1 in 20 dies when they take this damn thing? Anyway, okay, let's move on. So, Janet, now over to you. So we're going to talk about the world of hospitality. Obviously, you're multi-property vice president for Sheraton Grand Macau, right, and right here at the St Regis Macao. Macau is predicated on the hospitality world, and we've had a pretty crappy year, to be blunt. So, your key learnings and thoughts about this year, and how are we looking for next year?
Perfect. First up, I'd like to ask you, Brian, if there's a vaccine for stress. Because for any of us, irrespective of how talented or how much experience you've got, the curveballs that have come out at us this year have been unprecedented. And I'm sure everybody's got a tale and a story, and in years to come, we'll all be able to relive those. For us, we were on the precipice of a absolutely cracker year. You know, we were planning our leave, we were saying, oh, this is going to look really good. 23rd of January, the world goes upside down. The concerns were about were we going to have enough toilet paper, did the staff like the lobster we were serving in the canteen, and by God, how are we going to turn all the lights off in time to save electricity? Because our world did turn upside down. And that whole pressure put us all into a surreal environment, as I'm sure it would have in all of your businesses. I don't think anything that I'm talking about is new to anybody in the audience. Some of the pressures for us were, unfortunately, in hospitality, we rely on tourism, and that was walking out the door at a fast pace. But the biggest cost to us is labour. And that is the hardest thing, right? Because you're talking about people's lives, you're talking about how the intricacies of working in a dynamic market like Macau, and that was a constant pressure. And it still is. It's released a little bit more, but I think for the first 2 months, we were breathless. We just couldn't keep up with the veracity of what was happening, because every day it was something new. And the constant change made it really, really difficult to operate. And your weekends were spent almost trying to recharge half a battery to see that you could make it through the next week. So as we were emptying, I think by April, we were emptying out our hotels. In February, I believe, that we closed the casinos and we closed the St Regis because Himalaya was closed. So I've been involved with opening hotels and walking around properties that are just shell and core, and then you switch on the lights, you breathe life into the property, and then it's open. But when you take something that's open and you switch the light off and you walk around it in the dark, it's a very, very funny feeling. And I can't really put that into any explanation. And the fear that instills in your workforce is an interesting thing. So we did things like, we had to use technology to communicate. We tried a lot of things, but what worked for us was the Microsoft WebEx calls. People would dial in from their home countries, whether it be, Philippines or Australia or wherever, or China, and we would hold webinars with these people, and the questions would sometimes go for an hour and a half. Same question, 15 different formats. In 3 different languages, and the answer was always the same, because I think people were just really looking for that answer. It's going to finish in May, it's going to finish in June. And actually we didn't know. So that whole payroll pressure, the no paid leave, the annual leave, for me personally, when I was going down, making some of those decisions, and, the effect that it has on everybody, starting from myself down, You do worry about people's livelihood, but you also think at the time, oh, is this the right decision? Should we be doing this? And of course, you know, in the end, we've been able to, we're still making a loss, of course, like many businesses, but we've been able to mitigate that and continue to keep a workforce semi-paid. And I think without the help of a good owner, you know, like Sands China, and a company like Marriott behind us, I'm not sure that we would have had that same rate of success, but I can't speak for anybody else. So that whole pressure on payroll was a biggie. Turning off the lights, closing properties down, all of that, the dynamics of all of that is difficult because when you can't just close a building down and then walk away. You still need to go in, you need to turn the lights on, you need to run the water, you need to flush the toilet. So, but you've got limited people doing all of this stuff and you're asking people to be on no paid leave. So all of this has been part of the background and the activities that we've been doing. Then comes the quarantine hotel for Earth Tower. So the first one I think for us was in May. And it was, you know, obviously we've got a tower that's 2,000. It can be blocked off, but no one can gain access. It's the right venue to do that. But that comes with, you know, all of the protocols that are involved with doing all of that. The fear, people saying if I get involved, there's no vaccine. Well, you know, all of these kind of bits and pieces. So we navigated our way. And, you know, you really then start to see the heroes in your organisation that step up, you know, people from all departments pooling in, helping out. And we set up staff rooms, coffees, wheeze, you know, the technology. So when they're not involved with delivering stuff to the quarantine rooms, they've got a playroom where they can do all that sort of stuff. We had all the people that didn't want to go home and because they were frightened of maybe infecting their families, we had them all stay in. So we tried to be as proactive as possible because at the end of the day, when the business comes back, and it will, we've got to think positively, it's the people that are going to get us there with our customers. So that was a whole new dynamic, you know, closing a property, quarantine a property. So, you know, the key thing that I learnt over that time is that normally you spend a lot of time strategically planning, setting your plans, but you have to become a purpose-driven team. Because if you don't become a purpose-driven team, plans just go by the wayside because often plans can't be changed so quickly. So it was, oh, this has happened today, okay, we've got to do this. This has happened today, we've got to do that. It's not probably the normal way you'd like to run a business, but if we didn't do that, we wouldn't be able to keep going. So there was a lot of stuff that happened. I think then it got to a stage where the equilibrium was at a level that we could continue to go on, and we were just sitting worried, you know, okay, summer, it'll be good summer. Of course, we read things in IAG, don't we, that tells us that summer it's coming back. Yeah. Yeah, but it didn't. So all of this kind of stuff, then you're planning and unplanning and planning and unplanning. So that agility and the ability to make decisions and to have the conviction of your decisions, obviously, in our business, unlike yours, it really is in real time. And, you know, you can't really do that with a great group of people behind you. From a personal level, I probably didn't think I was as strong as what I was. And I suppose you need to ask my staff because a lot of the stuff, there was no book, right? So as things were coming out, you were thinking, oh, crap, you know, what am I going to do about this? So all of that stuff came out. I realised that, you know, there was times there where I maybe needed to spend a bit more time looking after myself a little bit more because it was so volatile and it was daily that it was difficult to stop. And so I think the team, a lot of my staff also felt the same way. You know, the exhaustion that builds, and also the reality that you can't leave, and all of those things that happen, and we all know about those. So I think those are the key things, and the things that were important to me before. And you know, please don't look at me as being fickle, but you know, the manicure, the hair colour, actually they're irrelevant, totally irrelevant. The things that I hold dear before that I thought was fantastic, where I could jump on a plane and go and visit my family, whether it's my husband's family or my family, I can't. So those things are really dear to me. My family and the people that are around you that you love, they are the most important thing in all the world. And not that I never thought that, but it's very easy to have other things take over and other things replace that. And I think, you know, there has to be some, I think, realignment. And it's work in progress, right? Because you can see yourself slipping into that stream when work gets busy and when things happen, that you then go back to that place where you think, oh, I'll put that, everything else first and not the things that are dear to me. So I think they were key learnings. And I think, you know, the people around you are really what makes our business, especially in hospitality, what it is. And, you know, the team that we've got here are super people, and they've really put themselves on the line, and every single one of them have been terrific. And everybody's got a story, and everybody's found it difficult, whether it's homeschooling kids or, you know, not being able to travel or bills or whatever it may be. It has been an interesting year. So, you know, lots of things. A highlight for us was obviously opening up the St Regis bar. So, you know, I'll get a plug, come up for a nice cocktail after this. I can see a few of you, yes. So we are very happy with the bar. That was a little bit longer than what we wanted in opening, but I think with the way things were here and licensing and stuff, that eventually got open. So that's a real highlight for us. So we shared in that celebration, and that has been a great team effort. What's been evolving around us in the Londoner complex has added a complexity to what we're doing. Not only are we dealing with quarantines and openings and closings and no paid leave and annual leave and all that stuff, we're also working in a refurbished environment. So where one day, if you don't come to work one day, then you get lost because they've closed that hallway. You've got to go somewhere else. So this evolution of what will be an absolutely beautiful destination on this side of the street has added an enormous amount of complexity to what we're doing, both from an organisational perspective and trying to navigate your way through. It's a big deal. What's going on this side of the street. And again, aren't we lucky to have such a good owner that still puts their hand in their pocket to spend this money? And in our world, it's a good time to do it, right? Because you don't have any customers and you can bang and carry on, until your heart's content, because no one's going to complain because you don't have any customers. So that's been a really good thing. For us, for 2021, a lot's relying on the vaccine and the outcome of the vaccine. I mean, you know, if people can't come into Macau, whether you work for hospitality or gaming or if you're a restaurateur, our business is predicated on the folks that come in. The herd mentality approach for the vaccine, from what our research says with the Marriott Group, is that it will move from the US to Europe and probably won't hit Asia Pacific till the latter end of next year. So our opinion, and not based on anything but what we feel internally, is that really the first 6 months will be more of the same, and that we will still have to try and mitigate our losses and work hard to do more with less, because we are taking back a refurbished product. So that will be quite difficult for us. And without that, we will not really be able to get anywhere near to the return of 2019. It's not doom and gloom, but it's not, in what we think in our world, going to be a fast fix. The visas, all those things that are coming on board will all help, but I think the holy grail is the vaccine, where people feel that they can travel and they can take their families away and they can be safe and they can enjoy all the benefits of their hard work. Not that you go away and then you contract COVID. The last thing for us is in doing that and in moving into 2021, nothing has ever been more prevalent than the whole commitment to clean. The way we clean, the way we maintain our facilities, everything that we do, even to the room that you're sitting in today, the social distancing, a lot of that will still continue until such time as we feel, or the world has recalibrated, and we see that things get coming back to being normal. I hope that happens very soon, because the downward pressure on our business levels is disappointing. I don't personally think I've worked this hard. I mean, I'm a hard worker, but this has really pushed my limits this year. And what's the interesting part of it is that I don't think I've got much out of it. You know, financially, if you look at you're measuring your success versus a number or versus something, actually it's probably the poorest performance I've ever had. So, and that's an interesting analogy to have, but it has been really bloody hard work with no days off for many of our senior leadership team. And, you know, that I suppose will be something that will live to tell the tale as we go. So I think in Macau we're very lucky. I think our USP of not having had any cases for some time does keep us in a good position for when the business comes back and if vaccines come back. So I think the government has played it right. But that's not helping us drive traffic into the door. So lots happening in our world. But I think if you take it back to the lovely doorman or to the person that serves you in the restaurant, they're the people I feel the worst for because they've been hit, you know. I think, if anything, that's the responsibility we have, is to be able to look after our workforce and to make sure that eventually that they get back to normal and they can start doing what they need to do and look after their families. So, thanks.
Thanks for sharing all that with us, Janet. And for those of you in the room who may not know, Sheraton Grand here is the largest Sheraton in the world, 4,001 rooms. So when I wander around Japan and talk to them about hotels, and the largest hotel in all of Japan is like 1,500 rooms, and I tell them, well, we've got one hotel with 3,000 rooms, and next door there's another hotel with 3,000 rooms, and across the road there's a hotel with 4,001 rooms, they kind of freak out. So that must be an awesome responsibility to have such a responsibility for such a large stock of hotel rooms, never mind the St Regis here and everything that's going on with the Londoner. Patrick, the world of banking and finance. I think everybody knows that we've run out of Hong Kong dollars in Macau. There's no Hong Kong dollars going around. Seems to be a problem. We're running slightly over time, so if you could keep it to 5 minutes, that'd be great. Thanks, Patrick. Over to you.
Thank you so much.
Nothing to do with you, Janet. Nothing to do with you.
Thank you so much for that. You know, let me share with you some of the things I see during this 2020. So I think as a requirement by the Macau Monetary Authority, banks do have our own business continuity plans. So we have different scenarios, one of which is infectious disease. We have the plans. Let's see how it goes, you know. So in late January, I think everyone went traveling, you know, enjoy their family trips overseas, visiting their family and friends for Chinese New Year's. Then all of a sudden the news came up, and then the first thing hit us, the banking industry, is the staff that went to China, whether they should come to work or they should do their self-quarantine at home. Because of a lack of staff, what we see is how are we going to open our retail branches on Monday? Some bank hits by maybe 10, 20% of their whole labor force, some less, some more, depending on the labor workforce. So then very soon then you see different banks have different arrangements. Some of them close 1 or 2 branches, some of them opens late, close early as well. I think over a month, the whole banking industry comes up with an agreement saying that why don't we close 50% of our branch, just to, you know, sort of in line with the government's advice, no gathering, you know, social distancing. You just stay at home, you can, not to come to a bank where things. But then after we close 50% of our branches, then we realize people still come to the bank. Those open ones are getting more crowded than others. Later on, then, this thing helps us to teach our customers as well. I think Macau is a place where we have many retail branches, but with a small population. I mean, the ratio is very high. But then our customers start to get used to, you know, have to learn how to use our e-banking systems. But at the same time, banks have to sort of enhance their system as well, because they've never, you know, all of a sudden you have more increase in people using the banking system. Normally, we somehow, when you apply for a service, we still need someone to come into our bank face-to-face for the first thing. You do our our due diligence, client acceptance procedures, AML, everything, When you come up to a bank, you open a bank account, it takes you more than 1 hour to do it. But then under this situation, how are we going to do it? The banking industry remains as a key player in the whole economy. Suppliers need funds so that they can purchase the masks from overseas, medications, protective gears, anything as usual. At the same time, we as individuals, we still need cash, we still need money to go to the supermarket to buy stuff as well. So the bank do have a very important role in this situation where how we could make sure everyone's, are okay. You can still continue to live your normal lives. But as Janet mentioned, I mean, our staff do have some fears, especially during the first 2 months. I mean, no one knows what COVID-19 is, We hear all the bad news about people get infected easily. We have death case in overseas and everything like that. So we have to make sure our staff can work and where they feel safe. We need to source protective gears for them. But of course, during the early months, early weeks, I say, it's very hard to do so. But of course, later on, when the government came up with these initiatives where Macau residents can get their masks, or we at least get most of the problems solved on that matter. The hand sanitizers, everything. Split office for us is another issue as well. For banks, we handle very customer data. We normally do everything in the same building, so we're making sure the customer data won't leak out. But then when we have like staff work from home, we have to relocate our staff to different locations, and we are making sure that they have sufficient IT support to do so. So our IT department, and same as other banks, our IT department is the one that making sure that everyone's either your desktop get relocated, we'll get you a new one so you can work in a different locations, or we get you laptops so you can work from home as well. So all these things that have tested our business continuity plan, and all the things that we've learned. Of course, a lot more than what I've just said. All the things that we've learned, that we have improved our plans, I think for every single industry is the same thing. All these we have learned so much from these things that we have, so that we hope that will be more prepared when it comes again. But hopefully we don't. We don't have to use it. So the business continuity plan is always there, somewhere in the bookshelf. You don't want to use it, but then we do drills. We are required to do drills every year as well, but this is definitely something that we can tell us how efficient and effective our plan is. I think it's same for all industries. And I think for the other thing I would say is travel restrictions. So BCM is a local bank, but of course our parent company is Dyson Bank in Hong Kong. So some travel restrictions do have. Our senior management from Hong Kong, they travel to Macau. Very easy, 1 hour ferry, They come on a weekly, if not monthly basis. But then with the travel restriction in place, and then we can't. We do telephone conferencing, video conferencing as well. But all this is all about IT stuff. But then, of course, it changes the way how we communicate. We always find it, face-to-face much better than a video conference somehow. Even though you look at someone's face from the monitor, but then you still feel the difference. But then I think the last thing, financial performance, I think is one funny point. I think during good economic times, there will be lots of borrowing, lending activities because of the competition. The interest rate will be a bit lower because of the competition amongst other banks. But then when the bad times come, I think this is the time where the banks are earning money because people need money. The demand for funds increases. I think, of course, during bad times, I think those maybe the company with trouble, they demand more, so we can earn a bit of interest. But then, when you see Macau, the property market slightly changed, but not too much in terms of the pricing, and with the significant support by the government department, government funding as well. We don't see a significant increase in terms of interest rates. That's a very, things that you can see what the government did is to help to stabilize the whole economy, the whole Macau economy as well. So I guess that's it for me. Thank you.
Very, very good, and thanks for keeping it short, Patrick. I heard everybody gasp in horror when you said when it comes again. But in all seriousness, we're having pandemics more and more often, and if you look at the last 20 years, there's been more pandemics in the last 20 years than the previous century, and the frequency of the pandemics. I think there are two main reasons. I think one is travel is much, much cheaper and more prevalent than it used to be, so they can get around the world, and I can't remember what the other reason is. I remember somebody telling me, but I've forgotten. Maybe you can tell me, Brian. Is there some other reason? Sorry to put you under the pump there. Okay, no problem. So we're running a little short of time, but we do have time for maybe just a couple of questions. So anybody like to thrust their hand in the air and ask any questions? There we go, Kit.
Thank you. Thank you so much for your self-disclosure, your honesty and your integrity. I really value that. Let me take you to 1599. 1599. That's a year, not a Marks and Spencer's price. 1599. In 1599, we were still grappling with the effects of the Black Death, the plague. Shakespeare lost two of his sisters and his own son. We were fighting off an Irish rebellion, and we fought off the Spaniards. And yet, 1599 produced perhaps the greatest music ever. We had the Triumphs of Oriana, wonderful madrigals by Elizabethan composers. And Shakespeare wrote Hamlet and three of his greatest plays. Was a year like this year in many respects. We say this year is like no other. Well, perhaps it is. Can you see some triumphs? Can you see a renaissance? Can you see something valuable that this cruel year has produced?
That's a really good question, actually. When you started, I didn't think it was going to be a great question. Actually, a really good question. I think that's probably our one and only question we've got time for. Anybody like to have a stab at that? Great triumphs in 2020 produced from the COVID-19 pandemic. I've got a couple I can think of, but anybody? I'll give you one. We got a vaccine out in less than 12 months. They were all saying it's 7-8 years to get a vaccine out normally. I mean, Brian, maybe you should say something about that.
Yes, certainly the vaccine advances have been very, very rapid this year, and you know that is a great advance on what's been done in the past. And again, the other thing, as you just mentioned, is the use of technology in education. You know, we've been teaching medical students through Zoom for a lot of this year, and I think that aspect of using the internet for that purpose has really changed during the course of this year. So that's made a big difference.
From a very selfish perspective, if you dabble in the stock market and you've had cash, it's been a good time to invest, because when the market comes back up, you know, there's some dollars to be made. If you see, a lot of the portfolios are performing better. So, I mean, that's not a takeaway, but I think for someone that's got more time at home on no paid leave, then maybe they've been dabbling a bit more.
I like your purpose-driven teams as well.
I don't know if Trump getting voted out counts as a... Sorry, Ken. Okay, well, let's in the interests of, I've managed to, every single one of these power hours finish at 7:30 on the dot, and this will be no different. So in the interests of that, Patrick, over to you, and given that it is our last one for the year, we just wanted to share with you from the board our thoughts of where AUSTCHAM Macau might be going in 2021.
Just to let you know that the board of AUSTCHAM Macau, we meet regularly. We meet on every monthly basis on the third Wednesday of the month. So that's what we do. And every time we meet, we take, one hour, 2 hours, just to come up with plans. Hopefully, you know, for the benefits of our members and also our friends of AUSTCHAM Macau as well. So, as you all know, AUSTCHAM Macau was formally registered with the Macau government in June 2018. And we have our official launch in January 2019. That was the day where we celebrate our Australia Day. And 2 years passed. I mean, we've been doing many events, but most of them are social events. Then, under this current situation, we came up with this great idea. The board came up with a great idea about Power Hour. Power Hour is about sharing knowledge, sharing informations. We invite guests from different industries. Hopefully, the topics that are something they are interested in. Hopefully, we can share this very important message with you all under these current situations. Of course, at the beginning, I think we did our one in July, the first one. We're concerned about the restriction as well. At the same time, where government issued the first guideline on doing public events as well. So therefore, thank you so much for St Regis Macao, ensuring that we're doing these events in a social distancing manner. And we've been planning, we do more business events in 2021 as well. So the events that we have planned for 2021 are, the first one is our January 23rd, which is our celebration of Australia Day, in our own very famous Australian barbecue style. It's a very popular event. It will be sold out, so get it quick. We will issue the information, we will announce our information very soon through our Facebook website and email as well. So the next event that we have planned is our annual members meeting as well, which will be on the Wednesday, 17th of March. So we welcome all members of AUSTCHAM Macao to attend for that event, because for members only. Next event will be in April 25th, is our Anzac Day event. Some event is a very important day for us to remember for that event. So for Power Hour event, thank you so much for the past months for attending our event. Either you attend it here at St Regis Macao, or you watch it live from our Facebook live streaming. For 2020, we have not been charging anyone, members and non-members as well, just to provide us some of our supports that we can do under current situations. But at the same time, we'd like to receive your support again in 2021. So there will be some special arrangement for 2021. There will be a no charge for members, but we will be charging our non-members and friends as well at $100 when you're attending here. We have 1 to 2. We will have 1 to 2 Sunday Arvo sessions as well. So if you have attended our Sunday Arvo sections in this year or last year, you will find it will be a great event to attend. And of course, we have plans for a business event, but there is still in a very discussion with different stakeholders, including different Macau government departments as well. So this event, the purpose of this event, one of the key purposes of this event is to showcase the quality of Australian products and services to a wide range of audience, not only just Macau, could be in the Greater Bay Area, China, anyone. But this event will be held in Macau, but still in a discussion with different stakeholders as well. So again, this is the plan that we have, but of course, if you have any interesting ideas that you would like to share with us, please share with us and see how we could actually to plan for our events in a better way, so that you all can receive them with values. In December, we have issued our first at a glance newsletter. It's a one-page newsletter with lots of information that you can find from that. We will issue it regularly on a monthly basis. Again, the purpose of it is to share with you useful information about Macau, about AUSTCHAM Macao, about our members, our new members, businesses, everything. We have been doing our community outreach program. This program continues, and this is basically we will visit a Macau government department, or we will extend to associations as well in Macau on a quarterly basis. So we visited IPIM, we visited the economics department, we have plans for other departments as well in the coming quarters. Our websites have been doing lots of enhancement. We're trying to enrich the information that we can put in our website. And we expect to have some bilingual. We're doing it in bilingual sometime in next year as well. So at the moment, it's only available in English, but hopefully in Chinese as well. And of course, again, any feedbacks, any suggestions are always welcome from you all. So for membership, some special arrangement for this year, but then at the same time, we need support as well, not only attending our events physically, but also financially as well. So our membership for 2021 will remain unchanged as our normal price, which is $5,000 for corporates, $2,000 for SMEs, and $1,500 for individuals. So for corporates, you can have 5 representatives. For SME, you can have 2 representatives from your company as well. So my last thing is, hopefully, I will see you all becoming our members in 2021 to show your support to us. So that's it from me. Thank you so much for attending the event. Thank you.
That's good. A couple of other just random bits and people. If you, our Anzac Dawn service, it's usually the exact same time because it's the April the 25th, so the sun comes up at the same time. So that's a 5:45 a.m. So if you want to put that in your diary now, nice and early. And it's a Sunday this year, so that's okay. And the other thing I should mention also about Power Hour next year. This year we've been streaming the Power Hours with mixed success. Our sound, we've had some issues with sound sometimes, but next year, to give more of a benefit to the people that are here, we will video the events and we will upload them a couple of days later. So in case you're wondering, well, why would I come physically rather than just watching it online? Well, you'll get it straight from the horse's mouth. And of course, you'll be able to go to the St Regis Bar and network with all your friends and new associates. And the last thing I might just mention is that the membership through 2021 will be fixed for the entire calendar year. So whether you join on January 1 or on December 30, it's the same price for the year. So get in quick. And now that we've done that plug, I think that's about it. And that's this. So this concludes the final official event of AUSTCHAM Macau for 2020. What's been a most crazy year. Hopefully 2021 will be a lot better for us all. And as per usual, if any of you would like to make your way to the St Regis Bar on the second floor for a drink, we will see you there. Thank you all for coming. Thanks very much.